Let's talk about the free agent rankings. So defensive tackle, we've talked about the need for that. This is from ESPN.com, the 50 best free agents that could potentially hit the market. And we're going to look at the D tackles. Number 3 is Javon Hargrave. You see, he will be 30 next year. He is very familiar with the scheme. He played for Jim Schwartz with the Eagles. So that's a name to keep an eye on. At 30, he might not get the huge contract that some of the younger guys might. Like, say, this guy, Deron Payne. It's a name you hear attached to the Browns a lot. He is the 4th ranked defensive tackle, or a free agent, rather, also a defensive tackle. Payne was with the Commanders a lot younger, just 26. So you see, he could be in line for a big deal based on the year that he had and his age. A little bit further down that list, number 16, another defensive tackle. This name will be familiar to area folks. He is from Cleveland. Dre'Mont Jones from Ohio State, played at St. Ignatius in high school, 25, is considered an ascending player. His pass rush win rate, pretty good. First step, quickness, short area, disruptive upside. The question is, can he do what you need him to do in the run game? And then the 30th ranked free agent that could potentially hit the market, Delvin Tomlinson, age 29, bit bigger. He can play in the 3 and 4 man fronts and really good at clogging up the middle. Again, at 29, might not get as big of a contract as some of the younger guys. When you look at those guys, anybody there of those 4 intrigue you that you think the Browns would be probably prioritizing?
Well, I think there's a lot of them. I'd be happy with like any of them, but it will be interesting to see how Andrew Berry approaches this, because he has been very, what I would call very not aggressive or whatever in defensive tackles, high priority. You know, when he got here, Sheldon Richardson was the best they had, and he was under contract for like the last year of his deal was like 11, 12 million, and they let him walk. They just cut him. And he actually, I had heard that he was offered more money by the Browns to come back, and he ended up going to the Vikings. He didn't play last year. The biggest free agent, you know, they've signed defensive tackles, been like Andrew Billings, Malik Jackson last year, Taven Bryan. So they've been guys, you know, maybe they're a little older or at one time at high value, but kind of dropped off. I think usually what happens, there's a bidding war with the top ones. I expect Barry to be very aggressive in getting somebody on the defensive line. I don't know if it'll be defensive tackle or defensive end, but I could see more of the veteran guys, you know, that he has a history, or Jim Schwartz has a history, you know, with, you know, maybe a Fletcher Cox, if he hit open market on a 1-year deal, a 32-year-old, or like you mentioned here, Tomlinson, guys that they're not going to throw a ton of money at, because they, in my opinion, they need a couple of those guys. They kind of swung for the fence thinking that Jordan Elliott or Tommy Togiai or Perrion Winfrey was going to be able to make it. And they haven't really went after free agents, and they haven't really spent much in draft. I mean, the highest guy they drafted was Jordan Elliott in the 3rd round. So I think that tell them we need stoppers, and I just don't know if they'll be able to afford, you know, some of the guys if they get into a bidding war. Another area to look at is the trade market. You know, if there's a guy there that's, you know, that's the surest way to get a guy, then you get to free agency, and you see this with a bidding war, and they get crazy money, especially at wide receivers and so forth. And if you can trade a guy, you get a salary, but then you can restructure it or do some of those things. So I like these free agents. It just depends how aggressive other teams are at a Hargrave or a Payne. And we always see this on the top list. And then by free agency, one by one they disappear. Either they get franchised or transition tagged or re-signed to a long-term deal. And so, yeah, this is a great smorgasbord at this time. But I'm looking more maybe not the superstar guy, maybe a guy that can come in and play at a much higher level than what they had this year.